So this is Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by recently retired light heavyweight and cruiserweight DEC Spelman. DEC, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, yourself?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Obviously saw the news on Instagram and wanted to reach out to you to do this and to talk through your career. I believe, I'm not sure exactly when you found out you'd have to stop boxing, but you're 31 now, and your birthday was quite recently as well. So I'm assuming it was on or around that. How tough was it to hear, first of all, I guess, given how young you still are?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was tough, definitely. I would say like now, definitely like this week, I started to kind of get over it a little bit. You know, I did dwell on it a little bit, and I actually found out that pretty much on my birthday was the night before my birthday. So, but I was in a way, I'd have been more pissed off if it was after that because I was able to have a couple of drinks, you know, and drown my sorrows a little bit. I didn't go too wild, but you know, I just thought, you know, I've been training hard, and I would have been more gutted, I think, if it had gone and I got told last minute. I'd have been like, no, but you know, I'm trying to see everything's got a silver lining, and every card's got a silver lining, and it's just my time, you know, like it just wasn't meant to be. And I've just got to accept that, really. So yeah, I officially found out that was pulling my license. Well, I actually just found out that was pulling my license yesterday. I got it all in on the email, but I was told that there was no chance I was going to get my license back. That was the day before, so that was the 2nd of February. Yeah,
And that was because, I believe, of a change in your brain scan. Is that right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, like I said, with the email I received yesterday, to be honest, there's a lot of big words on it. I couldn't really understand, but I rang Carl, and you know, it's mad really because Carl read a little bit of it out. This is before I even knew that obviously they must have tagged him in on the email, and Carl said it was pretty much word for word exactly what he got. You know, when he had to hang up the gloves. So, you know, it's obviously for the right reasons. I get why they do it. It's not like I've just laid down and accepted it. You know, I've tried going down different routes to try see what I could do, and there's just simply nothing I could do. You know, my time's up, and I've just got to accept that.
Yeah, I mean, you've been fighting pretty regularly, and obviously you get scanned quite regularly, so it must be a recent change. And I guess, yeah, there's not a lot you can do.
That's one more. That's the weird one. Like, I mean, other than the Elisoro fight, you know, that was a war, obviously. But I've been in plenty of them. We got fight of the year with Shaq and Pitters. I got my head bashed in for 12 rounds off Lyndon Arthur when I crashed the weight, you know, and I never had, you know, I never had one query on a scan. So it's a strange one how the body and the brain works. But these people know what they're on about, and they put these things in place, don't they? As much as I don't want to hear myself say this myself, you know, these things are in place to save people from disasters, really, and which I know too well about, you know. So I want, if that's what it comes to, I can accept the fact that, you know, I can retire.
Yeah, as you just mentioned there, obviously thoughts inevitably turn, I'm sure yours did, to Scott Westgarth, who you think about all the time anyway, I'm sure, but he obviously had a brain injury in the fight and died a little while later. And now you've hopefully avoided any issues with your brain because of the scan. So have you had time to kind of reassess it in that light and kind of reflect on that?
Yeah, I have, and that's probably why I'm coming to better terms with it. You know, like, you know, I've seen the sport. It's most grueling, you know, and I won't wish that on my family, and I won't wish that on any of my friends, and you know, that's why I can accept it a bit better, I think. And like I said, mate, it's just my time now, and I'll look at giving back in some way. You know, I've got plans to, you know, eventually get my own amateurs and stuff like that, and this won't going to come till later on in life, but it'll just come a little bit sooner now. You know, I just got to put my energy into that. I've still trained every day since every day by the weekends since I've been told. I'll keep in nick. You know, I'll always keep in shape right or there or thereabouts. And that's just that's the way I've got to deal with it. You know, so and that's what I'll do.
Tell us a little bit about your life outside the ring. So obviously you've got a job, family. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so well, you know, I'm lucky enough to be able to teach boxing 1-to-1. I started that. We're doing that nearly 2 years now. With a good friend of mine. He was another pro, Luke Fisher, boxed for England in the amateurs, good fighter, and he set up Outlaw Boxing and Outlaw Functional Fitness, which is like a CrossFit side to it. That's really booming at the minute. And a couple of years back, he asked me to come on board with him. I was working in construction, doing scaffolding and a little bit of civils here and there. I'd always worked, to be honest, and I just saw it a good opportunity. He gave me a bit of a leg up and just said, "Look, I can secure you this kind of wage because he was that busy." And basically, until you get going, and it turned out he didn't really need to do that anyway. You know, my name sold itself around here, which was nice. I have always had a good following, and a positive following as well. You know, not for the wrong reasons. So it's really took off, and like I say, I'm lucky enough to teach boxing daily. And it's I'm a student of the sport. You know, I love it, and I'm always looking at different ways to improve my game and other people's game. So, you know, it's I'll hit the ground running. You know, looking forward really, because that's what I want to do, and I want to make a living out of eventually getting my own stable. You know, and bringing the next generation through really.
And you're married, I believe. Kids?
No, not married. No, got the missus. Been with missus 4 years now. Coming up to 4 years. Yeah, I got the little boy. I'm not with the not a boy's mum anymore, but it's all good. We all get on well. It was just for the right reasons, you know. Probably partly through the stress of the boxing didn't help, you know. But everything happens for a reason. But yeah, I'm really happy in my life at the minute, and this is why I'm not going to let someone like this, you know, rock the boat. So yeah, everything's going well, and I'll enjoy a lot more time with my boy now. You know, I do everything with him now anyway. But it's a stressful life being a boxer, you know, and I've done it. I said it'll be coming up to 18 years now. I think I first laced Velcroed a pair of gloves up around 12, 13 years old, and I was on and off in the amateurs, but I'd always been around the gym. I was around some good amateur gyms, and I was lucky enough to always be involved. And 18 years is a long time, and obviously, like I've never, like I said, really shied away from any fights and stuff like that. They've always been quite grueling, and I've always been kind of been on the front foot, and that doesn't happen without consequences, does it? Obviously, and I wouldn't change it if I could look back. I wouldn't change it. You know, I always give value for money, I'd like to think. And so, yeah, like I said, I can retire happy.
And you still sound to be in full possession of your faculties. Something we've talked about many times, both on and off camera, is the possibility of punditry work. You might not have kind of the biggest profile of any boxer in the country, but you certainly analyse the sport well. You're very articulate. Is that something you'd like to go into?
Yeah, I'd love that. Carl's actually mentioned that to me before. And yeah, like I said, it's something what I would never really pursue while I was boxing, you know. But now, yeah, definitely, you know. I'll put a few messages out if anyone wanted anything, and then I'd love to be involved in the sport like that. Any way I could be involved in that, I'd love it. So, along with the other bits, I'll have a lot more time now on my hands. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just look at get my fingers in all sorts of pies really, and just going about my way as I can do it really.
And let's look back over your career. What were your initial goals when you first started as a pro in the sport?
Mate, I turned over. I like the idea of the journey, man. I turned over. I was just a boxing fan, and I put this out there a few times. People know that. I went to see Carl Greaves and I just said, look, my boy was being born. I think I was 21-year-old. My boy was being born. I only had like a minimum wage job. And I wanted extra coins, simple as that. And boxing was the way I knew I could do it. I knew I could be slick at times if I wanted to be. I could get out of trouble, and I could get through 4 rounds piece of piss. So I thought, you know what, let's have a go on the road, earn a few quid, and just get to know the game really. And it never worked out like that. I went there. Carl took me on the pads. We did a few months. We gelled together, and he just said, "Do you want to have a go at doing some tickets?" And I'm from a small town. Town's not very rich, you know what I mean? It's not much money around it. And I ended up doing around 80 tickets for my debut. I surprised myself. And debut, I boxed Elvis Doob. I ended up boxing Elvis Doob twice. And typical Elvis Doob, turned up. You did the rounds. I got told to stack off a little bit. It was like, you know, you weren't really allowed to stop him and such like that. You know, it was like going in there. I did 6-2s, I think it was, for my debut. And then after that, I ended up scraping. I boxed in Lincoln, I ended up scraping 40, 50 tickets. I know the spike was there on my debut, and I could see, you know, it was kind of, which was probably inevitable. And I was lucky enough to get a knockout against Chris Nixon, what went viral. And you know, it just shows you anything can happen, because since then I was doing 120, 130, 140 on tickets, and it just really took off from there. You know, so like after that, I've got another knockout and another knockout. Then we ended up getting on Sky. I bought Nathan King. I stopped Nathan King. I think I was the first person to stop Nathan King in around 7 years.
Well,
so yeah, I think the last person to do it was what was it? Was it some kind of gold medalist at Summer? And they mentioned that on the Sky, and I thought it was a really bloody. To be fair, it was a little early stoppage. To be fair to him, and he wasn't a bad fighter in his day, Nathan King.
No, he was good.
And yeah, I think he charged for like the WBU, did he, or something like that?
Something like that. He had one of those kind of 50-50 records, but he was a dangerous kind of a bit like Sokolovsky at heavyweight now.
Yeah. So yeah, and it was like that was a good win. That was a very good win for me then. And then, like I said, everything just snowballed really, and it just so happened so quick. And yeah, like I said, I said to someone the other day, if I could look back now and to when I turned pro and I've boxed the names I've boxed and I've challenged for the titles I've done, it's nothing more than a dream to me, you know. So
yeah, sorry, before we were rudely interrupted, you were just telling me about kind of where you've come from and how it developed.
Yeah, like I just said, I just finished saying basically like if I'd have looked at the start of my career and I'd have told myself from where I am now and look back that I'd have boxed the names I've boxed, I'd have challenged for the titles I've boxed, you know, won the English title. I think I ran professional boxing back to Scunthorpe after 16 years. And not just that, I did like 3 shows and packed it out and nearly sold it out one time. I think, you know, it was near enough at its capacity on one of the shows, which is amazing, really. So it's nothing more than a dream that, you know, if I could told myself this 10 years ago, I'd have snapped your hand off, you know. So I was a kid, but went in the gym with no natural ability. You know, I've grafted for anything. I've stuck at something. I've took pastings in the gym. I was one of the biggest beelers in the gym. I was one of that kids who you'd beat up in the gym. I'd go beeling in the toilet. So you're all right, mate. You're all right. And you know, I just stuck at it. And you know, I've gone on and done what I've gone on to do. And hopefully now it's put me in a position now to be able to set something up in my life to be able to go do, you know, further on.
And as you said, you brought boxing back to Scunthorpe. You've fought some of the best light heavyweights, certainly, of the domestic scene, won the English title. What's been your proudest moment?
Proudest moment is definitely obviously winning the English title. There's a lot of emotion that night, just with the background of it, you know, with it like we touched on earlier with the Scott Westgarth stuff, and it's quite crazy really to think to go and do what I did. You know, like I was actually mandatory challenger when I got beat by Scott, and I managed to bring it. I went into Ultimate Boxer. Well, we had like 6 rounder, went into Ultimate Boxer, and I think we had one more fight after that, and I managed to get back into mandatory spot. And Kurt Garvey was no pushover. Like he was a good amateur. He'd not really got much traction in the pros, and that's why we thought he was signed with MTK at the time. And yeah, and it was a risky fight that, but I was 100% positive. If I got that opportunity, I wasn't going to let that slip. And I boxed out my skin that night. I was like a man possessed. And yeah, and I do regret. I shouldn't have many regrets, but I do regret not being too hasty after that, because I truly thought. I still feel I was a little unlucky in the Shat Peters fight, and I do think me being the champion, I think you really need to claw that title away from someone. And I do think I was a little bit unlucky in that fight, but it is what it is. I can't change it. But I took that as a mandatory defence. Sorry. I took that as a voluntary defence. And, you know, I think Boazzi was a British champion at the time. I could have waited because we knew he was going to vacate, and I could have boxed for the British. And I think Shaq ended up boxing for the British against Chad Sugden.
Yeah.
And I'm a smash Chad, you know, so I truly be able to smash Chad up. We tried making that fight a few times, and he's not really been interested, which was a shame. Whether it's I always say this, I don't think it's the fighters, I think it's the people around him what was stopping that fight. Fighters will always want to fight, obviously, hence why the boxers. But yeah, I do regret that a little bit. I wish I'd made it a little bit more switched on then and sat on the belt a little bit, waited for Baxter to give it up, and then I would have boxed for the British. But it is what it is. You know, I can't change it now.
Who's the best you fought?
I've done that. I would say the best I fought when I was in there for a number of reasons. This is Lyndon Arthur. I think I like to say I crashed away bad, but not that. I did. It was slick as well, and I think like he was coming back off. He just had his elbow operated on and stuff, and I think he was firing for that fight. It was my first 12-rounder, and I just felt like shit when I got in there. Like the first round, I was firing. I thought this is sound. I knew he wouldn't be able to stop me. I genuinely knew he wouldn't be able to stop me. I told him I was going to come straight through him as well, which is what I did for 12 rounds. And where I found the energy to do that, I'll never know, because I was dead on them scales. I was bad. and I just thought, I was walking to the ring thinking, I've got 12 rounds here. You know, I wasn't even thinking about the fight. I was thinking I was just getting through. And I sparred Lyndon. Well, I keep in touch with Lyndon, to be fair. I talk with him and quite a bit. And I've sparred quite a few rounds with him now. And my style has changed my style did change under Al Oster as well. He brings so much to my game, and I learned so much with Carl. I'm not saying that I learned loads with Carl, but I learned a different aspect of boxing with Al. A lot more defensive work, my little fidgets inside, and I really rate Al as a coach, as I do Carl, obviously. And I really felt like a complete fighter between the two. What I've learned from both, I really did feel like a more complete fighter. And so but basically, answer your question is Lyndon Arthur, but I don't think it helped how much I was burnt out in the fight.
Who hit the hardest?
Hit the hardest was Joel McIntyre. Joel McIntyre, okay. I thought he had hammers in his gloves, and he put me down. I remember I thought I put him down. He dropped me sharp in that Ultimate Boxer, and I got back up. If you watch it, I got back up and I looked at Carl as if to say, why is he counting me? I thought because I had him going. And then if you watch, I just thought, well, I'm not hurt, but I was clearly dropped. And then I just went for it with him because I knew I only had 3 rounds. And I was the one who run it in, and I bet he thought, what the fuck, what's going on here?
It's not supposed to work.
Yeah, it was quite comical, really. But yeah, he could really punch. I do believe over the longer distance, it would have been a different matter. I don't think I would have gone for him like I would have gone for him. But when he got 3 rounds, it's hard not to, isn't it? So, yeah, he could really punch. Obviously, Yard could punch as well. But I say this to people, he was more of a stiff puncher, not a one-punch concussive knockout artist, I wouldn't say. I didn't feel that in there. And Lyndon said the same thing as well. He didn't feel that either. He didn't feel like he'd put you in and put you out. It's more his timing of the shot. He'd hit you when you thought you were slightly out of range and stuff like that, really. So, yeah, obviously, he was a big puncher as well. But I would say, yeah, definitely for one-punch power was Joel McIntyre.
Just on the Yard fight, that's the only time officially you've been stopped, and it seemed like an early one as well. Does that still kind of bug you?
What winds me up more, whenever I've been hurt, I've always come back to nearly stop them or win. Like, if ever I've been down, like they've got the Joel McIntyre fight, I was put down in the Westgar fight, bless him, I come back strong then, ended up putting Scott down, and then the Elisoro fight, I was dropped, I ended up coming back, finishing really strong. Every time I've been hurt and dropped early, like, I always come back, you know, and I never, and I say this in both ways, like, and I said this to him after in the hotel. He was robbed of a good knockout or a good stoppage, legitimate, or I was robbed of just trying to find my feet. There was only 7 seconds, if you watch it, 7 or 17 seconds left in the round. It was like I got up on 6 and was bouncing. I took a knee, thinking I was actually winning the round. If you watch, I was actually winning the round. I got stopped in. And then I took the knee thinking I had my marbles about me. I'll take the knee, I'll lose the round, 10-8 rounds, and I'll come back again. I knew they want long rest in the round anyway. And if anything, that's more what winds me up a little bit. But it's not his fault, is it? He's the fighter. He's not the referee. So it's one of them, isn't it?
I mean, you do get to go out on a win. I don't know if that means much to you because it was a tick-over fight, but most fighters tend to retire after a loss. So
yeah, that's it. And like, to be honest, like it was spoke about, and I actually put it out there. I was going to be finishing last year, and I just found this new form, and I'll tell you in the gym, I was absolutely firing in the gym, and it'd just be such a pity. And we said what a pity it'll be to just, and then obviously this fight got offered to us, and we just thought, let's have one more season, let's have one more go at it, you know, and see what we can do. And I was really on form. The day they pulled my license, I just had free sparring, just been sparring that day. Absolutely on form, 2 different sparring partners. you know, everything was there. My timing was right. My fitness was bang on. And the same night is when you get told they're pulling the plug. And it was like, wow, just black and white, you know.
So Chevron Clark, if he's watching this, can breathe a sigh of relief, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I didn't plan on losing, put it that way. But hey, look, Chev looks really good. Looks strong, big, strong, solid unit. He's got the amateur pedigree. Yeah, so we'll see. Look, he's getting on a bit now, and he's older than me, so they're going to need to fast track him. Hence why they're picking an opponent like me. So yeah, and it's all shoulda, woulda, coulda. I'm not going to sit here and say I would have banged him out and done this, because we never know, do we? You know what I mean? He could say exactly the same, and he's been really respectful. It was a really nice little clip that I got tagged in yesterday, and yeah, thank you for that. If you're watching this, Chev, I appreciate that. It was nice. I could see it was from the heart as well, and he understood, you know, the reality of the game, you know, and. It has, you know, it has been tough. I'm not going to lie, but I'm lucky to have stuff in place where it's not just boom, stop dead, and I've got to look for work. I've got to look for a job. I'm lucky enough to have, and I'm lucky enough to know the people around me who have set me up nicely. And sometimes you've got to have nice breaks like that, and I've been quite lucky, really.
Just before I let you go, take the opportunity to thank any of the people out there. I'm sure there'll be a long list, but maybe ones who don't get the credit necessarily.
Yeah, do you know, I first walked in the gym, like I said, around 12, 13 years old. First coaches was Neil Leach and Willie Smith. And they're not really involved anymore. And anybody in the amateur game, you know, don't get the credit they deserve. They're all volunteers. They put a lot of time in away from the family, some of them every night, some of them mornings, you know, and I'm understanding this more now than ever. You know, I've dipped my toe in the amateur scene. I understand how much commitment it takes. So, yeah, they were the guys who I first ever met and gave me a great foundation for the sport, a great understanding of the sport. I then moved from there to Brig ABC, which I met a guy called Jimmy Quinn. He was big on the fundamentals, a lot of footwork drills. We used to go to Ingles quite a bit, and I saw a different aspect to boxing there. So I'll thank Jimmy Quinn as well. And then from then, I moved to Highfields ABC. That was a very good gym. We have Jamie Hughes. He was a national finalist. They had a few England kids there, top sparring day in, day out. And I felt like when I went to that gym, I was a small fish in a big pond, you know, and I felt like I needed that. I was out of my comfort zone, and it only brought me on. I was matched hard, boxed a couple of Berkeley kids. Boxed a Berkeley kid, sorry, boxed Matty Tinker, who went on to win. I think he went on to win Golden Gloves in America, did he, or something like that? Or he won the Irish ABAs, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And I was matched quite hard. I think it took me 5-6 fights before I even got a win. And it only, you know, put me in good stead then for the pro game. I got robbed blind in Liverpool in the ABAs, and I think that was the semis or the quarters. And from then on, I went, that's it. You know, I'm done. I'm going to earn a few. If I'm going to get robbed, I'll earn a few quid getting robbed at least. So yeah, that my amateur coach at Highfields was Jim Loosemore. There was Liz Loosemore and Steve Ray. Alvin Miller had a little bit to do. He's a former pro as well, Alvin Miller.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's Jim Loosemore, John Loosemore, John Loosemore, and yeah, he was a former pro. He had a bit of an input in my career. But all these people, you know, these are all volunteers, like I've just said, and it's they make a massive impact in it, not just in your boxing, in your life. You know, these are friends for life. What I gathered, and a lot of these was coming to my fights afterwards. I bought tickets when I was a pro, which all helped me along the way. You know, Steve Ray, he was on the pro scene at the time. He got me to move to Highfields because he saw something in me, and I was umming and ahhing whether to quit the sport then. You know, once I started working, balancing life, work, I had a pregnant missus at the time, and it was hard. So all these people made a big impact. And then obviously further down the line, we had Carl Greaves, who did nothing but wonders for me. You know, got me every opportunity I feel he could. It was always fair with money. You know, you hear so many horror stories. I was lucky enough to not really been involved in any of that. I've met a few people on the way where I think, yeah, stay away from you, you know. But hey, it's boxing, isn't it? You know, it's a crooked sport. But you know, I've been really lucky to meet the people I've met. I lost the move with Alistair last October. Really, really rate Alistair as a coach. And if he gets the right fighter for in his lap, you're going to see him do something special, because I really, really rate that guy. He's such an intelligent man as well. Understands boxing. He's an historian as well. You know, he knows his stuff. and there's not much, you know, he didn't really know when I'd asked him a question what he didn't have an answer for, you know. And yeah, I appreciate that. And then on top of that, sponsors, you know, like I've got Matt from Mulligan's. He's helped me out so much. He helped me out with the coaches, which got people there, and that makes so much of a difference as well. People will tell you, like, if you're not putting on coaches, people are not able to get to your fights, and sometimes it needs so much of an outlay. It got to the point where a bus, we paid over $1,000 for a bus for one of my last fights to get like 50 people there. But the 50 people on the 50 tickets can earn you quite a bit of money, you know. It can be the difference between the show being on and the show being off.
Sure.
You know, you can get pulled so easy, you know. So, yeah, Matt from Mulligan's helped me out massively. Lee Inchcliffe, he was one of my main sponsors for a bit, LH Hydraulics. Gas Daniland, he was like a family friend, and he set me up in a job. He kind of gave me my first break, really, because they was giving me 4 weeks off work for the likes of like the Lyndon Arthur fight, the Yard fight, and that's the first ever time I've been able to train like a proper pro. I was training 3 times a day, 2 times a day, going through to Newark. I was staying over. Carl kept me in his house, treated me like one of his own, you know. And these are all people who have made a massive impact. Like I said, not just in boxing, but in my life. And I'm sure there's plenty more I've missed out there. But I'll thank them individually, and they'll know who they are. And then, do you know what? The last one is my mum and my dad, my stepdad, Jamie O'Coin. And, you know, he's been with me since being younger. And you don't realise how important these people play in your career, in your path. And like, these people take you every night to training. You know, and when you're younger, you're not thinking, you know, you don't think like that, do you? But now I've got a kid of my own. I realise how much commitment it takes, you know, and they're stopping doing, you know, stuff what they want to do, so you can pursue something what you want to do, and it's not cheap either, you know. It's it all adds up to money, and you know, I just want to thank anybody that's ever been involved, really. So yeah, thank you.
Great stuff. Well, I'm sure we'll catch up again soon. There'll be big fights that we'll want your input on, but for now, best of luck with everything. It seems like you're already on a good path. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to cover your career and to talk to you when we've had the opportunity.
Cheers, Danny. Appreciate that. And appreciate you doing this as well. It means a lot, mate.
No problem, mate. My pleasure. All right. Take care. Speak soon.
Yeah, mate. See you later, Danny, mate. Thank you.
Bye-bye.